Sounds good.
Okay. Our guest this time on Trader's Interview is Andrew Hart of BigTrends.com. He's a lead ETF analyst there, and now he's heading up his own section under the Big Trends network called ETF Trader. So, welcome, Andrew.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I appreciate you having me here today and looking forward to sharing all this information with everyone there at Market Heist.
Yeah, it's been a while because we've been chasing each other around for about 3 or 4 months, so can't believe you're actually here. It's like a big deal.
Yeah,
Like a,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, oh, it's definitely a lot of fun. And I know Price did an interview with you about, what was that, about 3 or 4 months ago? And
yeah.
you've gotten a lot of good hits, and Price always gives excellent interviews. So it's a lot of fun just to kind of spread our wealth with your visitors and traffic and so forth.
Well, you guys are such great teachers. That's the kind of people we want on. First question: you're down there in Lexington, Kentucky, like Price is, right? You guys
Exactly.
work in
Yeah,
the
we're
same.
located here in horse country, and it's nice and beautiful here. We're getting ready to see the races start here in just a couple of weeks. So just about 6 weeks out of every
Okay.
year, we take our market knowledge and apply it to the horse
Horse.
industry. So it's a lot of fun to be here.
Well, most people don't know that Kentucky's actually a decent financial center. Well, now that I'm getting to talk to you guys and some other traders, I'm getting to see, hey, a couple of people are there. It's not just always New York or Chicago. What's the atmosphere down there for the trading community that you see?
Well, it's funny. It surprised me too. It wasn't until about 6 months ago, I guess now been about a year, I found out that one of our now good friends, Quint Tatro, is located here in Lexington. You guys might know him as the Kentucky kid Fast from Fast Money.
Yeah, and
He's also got his site.
actually, he got me started in trading. This is how
That's fantastic.
he
I
was the
didn't know
first.
that.
Yeah, he was the first guy he introduced me, and he invited me out to Vegas one time to meet up with him. So he's a good buddy of mine. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's well, I guess the last time I saw him was we went out and had a couple of drinks and had a good time. And Quint was, of course, always talking about the market, and it's always good to be around with him. And we've tried to expand with him in a number of different ways. He's got such an excellent approach to trading stocks, whereas I predominantly focus on options.
Yeah.
We do trade some in options on ETFs for that matter, but yeah, he's got an excellent gig over there at Tickerville.
hmm Now, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and especially how you got into the stock market? Because I don't think most people started out trying to be an options trader or stock trader.
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, my first love and my first start into the financial world was really getting into personal financial planning, and it's a much more, believe it or not, complex world than options trading because you've really got to know and have an understanding of just so many more things than just a one monoline approach as it is with options.
hmm
You know, with options, I'm only focused on whether it's credit selling or buying for growth or whatever the idea is. It's just in the options world. And you know, when I first started, you know, looking at the stock market, it was really from the approach of long-term passive management. And it was, as most of you know, really getting into that in the mid to early 2000s was obviously we were starting to see a rebound from the bear market in 2002 and so on and so forth. But the bottom line was that you quickly realized that, you know, as the decade went on, you just couldn't survive with passive management in that type of arena. Now we look back on it, of course, it looks a lot like the lost decade
hmm
for Japan. And I hope that doesn't happen to the U.S. You know, I sincerely hope it doesn't, but the facts point to that more or less we're not going to be in a hyper growth period for a long period of time. So you really got to, I really understood that we have to adjust as active traders and active investors to a much more active approach. There's a couple different ways you can do that. Obviously, I like options, but predominantly my core fundamental channel of getting that is through ETFs.
How has your experience in financial planning and things like that changed your or directed your view of how investors and traders should kind of blend together? Because people who are actively trading aren't thinking like you said, longer term, but that's always the goal of trying to make money and try to sustain yourself.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the first and foremost, options are already risky enough for most people, and I view them as obviously they're in that financial world much more risky than your average ETF play or your average stock play. But what we do is obviously take options in a different approach than most. I never buy out of the money calls or puts because it's just too risky. You're gonna find yourself with 100% losses too often, too much. And that really hurts you, not obviously in your account, but also from a mental standpoint. People know trading is just, I mean, it is, if nothing, it's sometimes I think it's more than 50% your mental capital than just your actual trading capital. But I always focus on in the money calls and basically as a
Hmm.
stock substitute
Yeah.
where, if you're looking at a $30 ETF, you buy a $3 to $5 in the money call. If you think it's going up, you're really going to insulate yourself away from those losses greater than 35% properly managed. And you can really see all the benefits of options still in that type of strategy without exposing yourself to the extreme risks.
So, when you were starting out trading, what was the toughest trading lesson for you, and how much did it cost?
It's a good question. I was fortunate enough, in talking to Price, I think his costliest mistake, it was either 50,000 or 15,000. And this is, we're all talking personal money. So
Yeah.
luckily, none of us have made the mistake on somebody else's buck because that's even worse than your own, as we know. But my costless mistake was not bad. I would say it was around $5,000, and it was early on,
Hmm.
early enough. And I was with Price. Price has been not only an excellent coach to traders out there that have been, loyal subscribers and followers of Big Trends for the last 10 plus years, but also to all of us here at Big Trends. Being around him for 50, 60 hours a week
Uh-huh.
is, you
Yeah.
do that for, 3 plus years and you've got yourself one heck of an education just from being in trading with him. So it's really been a lot of learning by osmosis with what he's
Hmm.
done, and I've really been fortunate for that matter.
Yeah. Actually, if we play this interview and his back to back, I think you start to sound like Price. I don't know. You
Yeah,
guys just spend too much time together. But but
that
but,
could be the case.
but speaking of that, how did you and Price get hooked up, and how did you start trying to learn from him? Was he your mentor, or did you just start as at a position at Big Trends?
No, I moved back to Lexington from Washington D.C. My wife got a full ride for a doctorate at the University of Kentucky in education, so
Wow.
she was obviously fortunate enough to get that. So it was one of those deals you can't say no to. So I moved
Hmm.
back here and was looking at a number of different positions, but through family friends and then through just obviously seeing Price on CNBC, knew about him. Also, we had some family friends from back in the day that I just, had, we had crossed paths without knowing it in the past. And there was a position available, talked to him. It was obviously pretty competitive, seeming as though at that time we were the only company in this town, even for that matter in the region,
Uh-huh.
that did what we do. And as you talked about earlier, now we've got there's a couple of firms in Louisville that do this now. Quint Tatro does. He's obviously got a asset management business, but also he's got Tickerville.com, which is his newsletter and subscriber.
All right.
So, but
Well,
yeah, primarily when I first started here, I was an analyst for. We had at that time, as an analyst at Big Trends is somewhat different than analysts at other companies.
hmm
It's here you start and you start writing, doing your research, running tests and back tests, and basically nothing here matters when you're trading except for results. So
and then, as it
you've
should
got to
be.
prove yourself, yeah, and you've got to prove yourself. It doesn't matter if you were from Yale. It doesn't
Hmm
matter if you were from the local community college. If you can take your, if you can take whatever street knowledge you have or whatever book knowledge you have and funnel it into one core thing of proving results, then you can basically get a portfolio here, which we have four. Scott, how many? We have myself, Scott Downing, Bob Lang, Moby Waller, and just so all you can see back here,
Yeah.
there's my associate and portfolio manager over there for Smart Options. Scott Downing, but the four of us here primarily manage one portfolio apiece,
Hmm.
so we're 100% dedicated to that strategy and those results. So it's a lot of fun, and I've really expanded since I've been here because at first I was trading options on stocks, and that was fun.
Hmm.
But at the same point in time, I was also creating an ETF portfolio. It took about 2 years to create it, and after 1 year of running it under the Big Trends umbrella
Hmm.
with the success and what I foresaw as increased success in the future, we decided to take it out on its own site, which is obviously ETFtrader.com.
Well, Andrew, we're running a little short on time, at least for the YouTube video. So, uh, why don't we transition this into our next video about talking about ETF Trader and what that is.
Okay,
Um, but for this video, you guys be sure to check out Andrew's daily market analysis on both BigTrends.com and ETFtrader.com, and we'll talk to Andrew about more in depth about ETF Trader and give us a little tour about that. Okay,
great. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
no problem.